Wow. Hello, Greg. How are you?
Good afternoon, Keith. It's always good to see your smiling face.
Yeah, I was almost ready to not smile just because I wanted to be different this week.
I don't think you can do that.
Yeah. It's funny you talk about smiling. One of the things that I always preached when I coach my employees in the business is a great first impression. I mean, it's like when people walk into a store, and I'm sure you've experienced this, and someone's expression is just like,
Yeah,
it's just um it's not good. It's not.
no, no.
Yeah. So
Yeah, well, that first impression is so important.
yeah, so
Making
it's
somebody feel welcome.
yeah, well, making them feel welcome and wanting to come back. I mean, it's like, so the question becomes, how do you do that in the world of digital? There's no face. There's no
Right?
face. What do I do? So there's no smile. So what would you think, from your perspective? This is not your area, you're a finance guy, but what would you think when you go to a website, whether it's on mobile or whether it's on your laptop? What are you looking for in that website?
Well, I'm looking for a website that's easy to navigate, um, that's not cluttered. I don't like cluttered websites. Um, that to me, it becomes just too much. Because I'm usually when I go to a website, I'm looking for some information before I'm looking to buy. So it's helpful to have it laid out in a way that is intuitive, and it makes sense. Um, it's funny you say that though, because I've been to websites that I feel like are inviting, and then I've been to websites where it's like it didn't do much for me. and and that's I think the difference in between the smile and the crusty employee that you used to see. Now it's an inviting website versus a website that's like, that didn't really do much for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. You go from a personal experience, human, to somewhat impersonal on, a phone, you know, a computer, desktop, laptop, whatever it is. Um, and that first impression when you get there is, you just mentioned the word, it's cluttered. It looks like from its 1990,
Yeah.
like this, you can tell when a business is on top of its game by the things you see at first impression.
Mhm.
So if you're an online business, the first impression is not going to be with somebody that you walked into a store or you went to a restaurant or you traveled somewhere. So, and if you look at like the best experiences in hospitality, which is, obviously dining, travel, things like that, the best pay attention to every detail, how
Mhm.
they greet you, how they treat you, what the services are, you feel welcome. So that's it, again, that's an in person. But how do you duplicate that in an online setting? So what do you think? What would you do in order to give as much of that impression as possible in a well thought out digital experience?
I'd probably use a lot of pictures because I think pictures are really valuable at telling a story of a business. I think I would tell the story of the business. I mean, there's always an about section, it seems like in most websites. And I usually go and read those. I usually go and see what's this company all about. And in their about section, are they really telling me something that's valuable or interesting to know about the company? Or is it just kind of generic? This is what we provide. I think with a family-owned business, some most family-owned businesses really promote that they're a family-owned business. Well, then I'd like to know the story of the family. I mean, tell me about it. Right?
Yeah,
Don't tell me you're a family-owned business, and then you don't tell me anything further about it. Because then I start to question, is this really a family-owned business? Or
and again, the question is like, you're telling us that, but what does it mean that you're a family-owned business? Why does it matter to me as your customer that you're family?
yeah,
So,
you hit it right on the head there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So every action you take, there's a question that comes with it. It's like, why? It's the why
Yeah.
of the business. Why? So, the thing that you and I have recognized as we ventured into podcasting was we see the difference in how people are responding to our videos versus when we were putting out only flat content. You say a picture's worth 1,000 words, and yes, a well developed, image that really tells the story or matches the story somehow is okay. But in the pace of the world we live in, where people are just they're just scrolling, everybody's scrolling, it's like, okay, so how do you stop somebody? So it's, you have like 3 seconds to grab them.
Right.
So, and we're far from, experts in this area, other than we've been around long enough to have experienced business, personal, and all the things that have changed over the last 30 years. It's dramatic. It's like,
Right.
you think your first job, I think about my first business and how we had no computers. I mean, there was no computers. There's all humans. There's no computers. And I remember when we first ventured into the world of computers, but it was still so primitive. There was,
Yeah.
didn't do what we do now.
Well, and I think, you talked about when you were doing business many years ago, it was all face to face. And
Yeah.
maybe you'd get a phone call here and there, but it was all face to face. And you think of how important that was, right? Somebody smiling when they came in. You wanted employees smiling when they came into your store. You wanted them to treat the person with respect. You wanted that person to really feel like you cared about them. Well, how do you do that now with a web presence? Is how do you recreate that when you don't have the chance to present your smiling face or tell them, that we really care about your business, or have that interaction? It's a real challenge with digital marketing to be able to create that type of environment.
Yeah, it requires a level of expertise on the people that are doing the creative. Knowledge obviously is very important. Staying up to date with what's going on in digital marketing, because the pace is so fast, the changes, all the different platforms. We do a lot because we're working in the B2B market. So it's LinkedIn is really the best platform for reaching other business owners. But if you're reaching consumers, you have Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter. Twitter's more of like, I don't know. I've never figured out Twitter. It's always been confusing to me. I mean, technologically I understand it, but how to master it and its particular use, because each one of these platforms has a particular sweet spot for audience building.
Yeah. And I think that's really important to understand, Keith, is that each one does kind of serve a different purpose. And if you just treat all of them the same, if you treat LinkedIn the same as you treat Facebook, you're gonna miss, right? Because those are really two different mediums. Not that you can't be on both of them, but you've got to have a different LinkedIn approach than a Facebook approach.
No question. I mean, when you're dealing with the consumer market versus a business market, it's a different language that you're speaking. It's a different messaging, different content. You know, a direct selling website, it's like an Amazon. You go there, you search, you find a product, click on add to cart, and you check out, which is
Sure.
no different than going, to Walmart or Macy's, or something that's a department store, and you shop. So
Yep.
online, that's always blown my mind is that we actually do shop online. It's like I remember, and we've talked about this. I think just the other day when, first of all, the sound of the modem as taking you online, and they had the first shopping site was this Prodigy. I was so excited about Prodigy. It was like, wow. But but it really wasn't. You weren't actually buying anything. There was no e-commerce. You could look.
Right.
You could do window shopping. I don't even know what they showed, but again, those were the earliest days. It was like comparing a horse and buggy to a car.
Yeah.
That's how different it was.
Yeah.
30 some odd years ago.
Well, it was so frustrating back then because the speed of everything was just so terribly slow. I can remember we tried when our kids were young, we tried an online grocery service, which sounded really good, getting your groceries delivered to you. But the ordering process was so clunky. Right? And it was just so slow and frustrating that we finally just said, you know what, we'll just go to the grocery store.
Yeah.
Where today, I think all three of my kids order their groceries online. Not everything, but I bet they're getting 2/3 of their groceries delivered to their door.
Yeah. Again, everything has gotten better. I mean, you think about the game changing technologies that have changed everything we do,
Yeah,
like Uber Eats,
yeah,
it's like,
right. Grubhub. Yeah, yeah.
but it's made us lazy. It's like,
But it's turned think about that with Uber Eats and Grubhub and DoorDash. I mean, we've turned eating out back to eating in, but we're still utilizing a third party to make the food, prepare the food. Now we're getting it delivered to us because, like you said, we're too lazy to run out for 10 minutes and and pick it up. Um, yeah, it's incredible when you think of how technology has impacted, you know, uh, restaurants like that as an example. I mean, we used to, if we used to do carry out, you'd have to pick up the phone and call. You'd have to figure out what time your pizza was going to be ready or whatever food it was. I mean, think of it. When back then, delivery was kind of a specialty. Like, yeah, there was pizza delivery, but nobody else delivered. Right? Nobody else. Some restaurants weren't even really set up for carryout. You'd call them and ask them if you could do a carryout order, and you could almost hear in the background like, oh, we got a carryout order. Now they've got it down to a science, right? And they're building their restaurants now with that in mind. So there's so many restaurants now, these fast food restaurants that get built where there's hardly any seating inside. It's all set up for drive-through capability.
it's everything's about convenience now.
Yeah,
Where
it's big.
time is the commodity.
Yeah,
So if you can win the time game, meaning that you're able to save people time,
yeah,
okay, they will spend more money because that the money is less valuable than their time, so they'll pay, ridiculous amounts of additional money for a hamburger, literally for a hamburger,
yeah,
which they could have either driven through. I'm not talking about McDonald's, but even,
yeah,
a local bar and grill or something where they make good hamburgers.
yeah,
And between the percentage they charge you for the delivery and the tipping, you could wind up spending like a $15 bill and spend $30.
Absolutely.
It's like,
Yeah.
and then we complain about, that, we don't make enough money. And it's like, but get in your car, order on the phone or online, because almost every one of these places you can actually place your order online. Go
Yeah.
pick it up.
Yeah.
Now, it was one
Right.
thing during the pandemic, but we
Right. Right. But I think that's where, going back to how our discussion started about making that online experience really positive. When you have an online experience that the person, not only are you saving them time because, hey, they're picking up a meal, they're bringing it home, and they don't have to cook, they don't have to clean up. But you can also save them time and frustration if that interaction with your website and the ordering process is really smooth and really easy. Because I've been on some websites where I'm trying to do an order like that, and it's frustrating. You got so many choices to make. You got so many things it seems like you spent, you spent longer placing the order than you do eating the meal.
you know, but we've also look, my wife and I are very comfortable, having a meal at home or
Yeah.
even ordering and going to pick it up,
Yep.
having a glass of wine at home with our dinner.
Yeah.
But it's something to be said to go to a nice restaurant, have a
Sure.
nice quiet meal, good service. But that's what makes the restaurant business so difficult, is because things change so rapidly, and more people want it just like, want to be at home. I get done with dinner, I could just go to the couch, relax.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
you can't do
You don't
that.
have to dress up. You don't have to dress up.
No,
Right.
you
You
can
can
dress up.
be in your pajamas.
Yeah. So
But you're right. There still is a place for a restaurant where the in-person experience, is kind of what you're selling, right? Yes, the food is good, the food's great. But hey, come into our restaurant and you're still going to have a good experience. I guess one thing I've noticed is, like, around here in Minnesota, we get a lot of these breweries that are popping up, right? And they either serve food or they have a food truck that pulls in, right? So that's an experience you can't create at home. I mean, yes, you can have friends over and you can all have a beer, or,
yeah, but it's not the same.
but it's different, right? It's
You lose that element of atmosphere, and these breweries, they have their special blends, and it's so
right.
there's something to be said for that, and I enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah. And they're creating an experience, right? So that when you leave there at night or in the afternoon, whatever time you're there, you've got this really positive feeling about, hey, I enjoyed, they had the beer that I liked. They had the right type of things going on in the restaurant, or for whatever that was for me. Maybe it was, I just wanted a quiet corner to have a discussion with a friend of mine, or I was there with a half a dozen people and we wanted to have, we wanted to play bags and we wanted to engage in some activities, and they had that. Right? We wanted to sit inside, we wanted to sit outside. And they're just, as you said, it gets complicated for these restaurants because they're trying to fulfill all of those needs, and
Well,
it gets challenging.
right. The great restaurant owners are constantly reinventing themselves, and whether it's the change of the menu, whether it's, changing the decor. But at the end of the day, it still comes down to the quality of the food, the product, and the people that are creating the atmosphere. So it's all the same. It's what's interesting is that you compare it to the online. It's still, you said it best when you said that, when I go to some websites, it's just not inviting, it's cluttered, it's not a good user experience. That website is the door to, it's the virtual door to what we've all experienced and still experience, just not as often as we used to. So first impression is the most important impression.
Yeah, and I think that's really true, whether your website is an e-commerce website where people can buy on your website. But even if it's not, people are still going to come to your website. And you're right, Keith, they're going to come to your website before they come to your, if you do have a brick and mortar facility. And that website's going to make an impression on them, good or bad. And I tell you, if it makes a bad impression, I don't know that you're going to physically see them come into your
Yeah.
brick and mortar store. So you may never, you know, I'm thinking of like a fireplace store. I don't know why that came to mind, but there's stores around here in Minnesota, right? That's what they sell. They sell fireplaces, and they sell, you know, installed fireplaces. They sell the outdoor ones, right, where you can have at your patio. They sell the little, they look like stoves, you know, the pot belly stoves. That's something most people aren't going to just go online and order, right? But they're going to come to your website and they want to see, well, what do they have? If your website isn't inviting, if it isn't educating them on what different types of options are available, they're going to go to the next fireplace store website, and you'll never see them.
So they'll think that's just such a good point, because you know, you think about it, you're painting a picture for me, and I'm saying I can go to 5 different websites in like 10 minutes, even less. But if I want to go to 5 different stores, okay, that sell this, first I have to find 5 stores that sell this product.
Yeah,
I'm driving all over the place. So the first place that people are going, okay, to explore fireplaces is online. It's
yeah,
easy, because what you're going to do is you can say, which one has the best selection? Okay, which one has the best price? Which one looks like they really know what they're doing in terms of their presentation? You know, the information, is it clear? Is it understandable? You know, if I want to speak to chat with somebody, do they have a chat feature on their website? So
yeah,
those are the things you talk about getting spoiled. You know, you shop at an Amazon or some major website that really knows what they're doing, you get used to that. You say, that's pretty cool. You know, I feel this is easy, you know, 1-click checkout. You know, if I want to add a coupon, you don't have to search all over the place to find things. And
yeah.
they're a massive website. But I'm sure they're constantly looking how to improve the customer experience.
Of course, yes, yes, yeah. It was interesting you said that about, you know, going to the stores, right? You have to spend all that time going to the stores, where today we can do a lot of that research before we're ready to buy. We can do all that research from the comfort of our home. And as you said, you can get the 5 websites in 10 or 15 minutes, because you pick 5 websites, and I know 1 or 2 of them you're going to go on for 30 seconds. You're going to say, I don't like this website. And you're going to go,
You're going to click off. It's like
Yeah.
walking into a physical store, okay, that you're looking to buy sneakers and you see no selection. There's nothing in the window. Okay.
Yeah.
They have, I mean, you're just like, what year is this? You know?
I'm in the wrong place, right? I'm in the wrong place. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
well, and if you go to that store, if you physically go to that store, you might say, yeah, I'm here. I'll walk in and see what they have. And maybe you walk around. Maybe you buy something. A website, I'm gone, right? I can click out and go to the next, like we were talking before, the fireplace store, and I can find somewhere else that sells that same product or service. And now here's one that's inviting. Oh, here's one that's really offering me a lot of education, a lot of pictures. Oh, they do financing. They do installation. Oh, that's interesting. Now they've got me hooked, right? Now I'm here and I'm gonna spend some time on this website because this company's got their website making me feel like I'm walking in their store, like I'm interfacing with somebody who's smiling back at me and making my experience really positive.
Yeah, so the smile online is that when you first get to the homepage or what's called a landing page.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to get into all the technical aspects because I'm not the tech guy, but I understand logically what you're supposed to do. So when we, searching for fireplaces in Minneapolis, okay, you can get a list of things that come up on Google. Everyone's Googled. It's very rare unless you're very old that you haven't been online and Googling. But that first impression as you get to the page, a well-designed website will take you to the page based on the search term. So if you said Weber fireplaces, okay, Minneapolis. So you're going to get to links that will take you, even though they have 10 brands of fireplaces, it's going to take you to a page that's for Weber.
Right.
A poorly designed website, okay, is going to take you to the homepage where you have every brand and you go, oh my God, what do I do? I was told to look for Weber. Then you got to look. By that point, many people will just say, this is too confusing. Too confusing.
Right. Well, and again, I think you brought up a really good point, Keith, is most of the time people, they generically know what they're looking for, but they don't know specifically what they're looking for. So they're not Googling the name of a store. They're Googling a generic product name, fireplaces, right? Maybe they know a brand they like. And that's where the technical side of the website really has to be, top notch, because whatever it is that they're Googling, you got to make sure you're in the top of Google, right? That's not just a term, that's an actual
right
thing that people do to make sure your website gets to the top of Google, because people will not scroll page after page after page. I think the one I heard was that about 87% of folks don't get to the second page of a Google search. They just look at the first, I think there's usually 10 per page.
Yep. And
Not going any further.
That's why the term search engine optimization came to be. Because the site needs to be optimized for keywords. Again, we could have a whole, segment on this particular subject, and we're going to interview people that actually do this for a living so that they can get into more depth on that. But the thing that's really interesting, and I wanted your opinion, why do you think people in this day and age still don't pay attention to the online world? What do you think it is?
Maybe they don't understand it. Maybe they feel like, well, I have a physical presence, and that's my primary way of doing business. So they treat their online presence as secondary, not as important. I don't know. What do you think? Why do you think that happens?
There's a couple of things that go through my mind. Some of it is because of even having talking to clients. Some of it is fear, a lack of knowledge. They don't trust, even to this day, they don't trust the financial aspect of an online transaction. Because when e-commerce first came out, and there's still a lot of fraud online.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And companies are constantly protecting against that, with certain types of software that, make sure that checks the card, make sure it's, you know, matched to the customer, their address, using data that's known data. So I think fear is number one. I don't think the younger entrepreneurs think that way because they grew up online.
Yeah.
I think people who are mid to late 40s on up, who did not grow up, well, let's see, if they're in the, I would say late 40s, early 50s. I think that's where there's still some hesitation or just by lack of education. But I think today, if you are not online, even if you're not selling online, but if you don't have an online presence for brand, you know, reputation and growth and awareness, you're going to lose.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I think another point of that along that line, Keith, is that I think the age group you talked about, you know, I think a lot of times they think about, they grew up where when they first got exposed to the internet and online presence, it was all consumer driven. If I'm running a B2B business, right, I might think, my website's not all that important. I mean, you know, you can't order off of my website. Maybe you should be able to. But let's say I'm a custom metal fabrication shop, which I used to work in. Yeah, you can't order online because you know, it's custom, right? But your presence is still so critical that because people are going to go there to your website to see, okay, what do you yeah, okay, you're a custom fab shop, but tell me more about that. What do you mean custom? What do you specialize in? Why should I do business with you? If that's not apparent on your website, like we just talked about a few minutes ago, they're going to go to somebody else's website that does explain that better.
Yeah.
So I think understanding the importance, if you know, it used to be physical location, website, those things are integrated. You're joined at the hip,
Yeah, you
right?
just
And in fact, there's I've seen situations where people have been physically in the store and they've gone and ordered online from that same store for whatever reason, sales tax issues.
yeah.
You know,
So
it's not available in the store, but it's available online, right? So they're
exactly.
they're standing in the store and they're on your website placing an order.
Well, you know, listen, when you know that you could check across, I mean, a company can check across their whole inventory, not just in one location, to see what's available and say to the customer, okay, you know, it's not available in Minneapolis, but it is available in St. Paul,
Yep.
you know. So, and then if they have really good service, they're going to say, we'll have a transfer from our, say, place the order. We'll have a transfer so you can pick it up. Okay. In Minneapolis. But I mean, that's, again, now we go into the whole service aspect, but, you know, I think, and I can understand why it could be very overwhelming because, you know, we just got started with our podcast and we've always seen the value of videos and even a website. You talked about a family business. I want to see that if the person is still alive who founded the business, I want to see them talking about, you know, maybe it's an interview. Okay, a local paper interviews them and it's a video. It says, you know, the family history of, you know, XYZ.
Right. Because they're a part of the community, right?
Yeah.
So you want to be able to express that. And I think it's really critical, Keith, that whether you're doing video or pictures or both, that you really make sure you've got high quality content. I mean, that the pictures aren't, you know, ones that you pulled out of your old photo albums and snap the picture of, but really quality pictures that are clear and that are tell the story in that situation of a family. Now I know if you're talking about 3-generation ownership, it's okay if that first picture looks a little grainy from from grandpa.
From
That's
the
okay.
1890s. When we start, but so there's very few legacy companies that have been around for over 100 years. There
You're
are,
right.
but there's not a lot of them left.
Right.
You
Well, or
know,
they change ownership, right?
yeah,
They maybe started as a family company, but now they've been bought and sold, and yeah,
yeah. It's
yeah.
no longer the fifth generation of Smiths own
No,
and run this establishment.
right, right. They're out there, like you said, they are out there. But you're right.
But
it's not that common.
history of a business and its evolution is like watching the history of cars,
Yeah,
or anything that's developed over a long period of time. How did you do business in 1890 versus 2024? If you wrote it, that's when your business started. You know, before there was cars, and before there was electricity, and of course you're not going to. Those are just far and few between. But there are plenty of businesses that were established in the 50s and 60s
yeah,
that are
yeah,
still around, and they and I think the reason they're still around because they were forced to operate on a level of service first, customer first.
Mhm.
There's no internet, and a detachment from that personal service. So I love talking about this stuff. I just find, one, I love history. Two is I love business. Three, I love sales. Four, I love what makes entrepreneurship so exciting.
Yeah, yeah. Me too. Me too.
Yeah. It's just fun. And like, you know, on Friday, we have our first episode of Young Entrepreneurs.
Right.
Um,
That's right.
so I'm excited about that. And um, the gentleman, his name is Nateen Raj. Uh, he started a consulting firm, formerly of his career. He spent 10 years at Deloitte and Ascension. Very nice young man who's very smart, and we're gonna, learn his history.
Yeah, I haven't met him yet, so I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, you're gonna like him. He's a really nice young man. I've been, as I told you, I've been coaching him on the sales side, but
Mhm.
you'll get to talk to him about, what he's doing to run his business on the finance and operation side. It'll be
Yeah,
interesting to, because I told him he's gonna, you'll be asking questions from that point of view, and so I'm looking forward to that. And I think we have another week in the can, as they say.
we're not sure what we were going to talk about. We spent a lot of time talking about something.
we,
So,
we, we always we always find a conversation that's worth having when it comes
well,
to.
it's like you said, it's once you start talking about it, it's just so interesting to continue to delve into those topics and kind of continue to sort of peel back the onion on those issues and go deeper and deeper.
Well, I think one of the things, and see, what they say that about age brings wisdom, and experience can't be taught,
Right.
and all those great cliches. But the fact remains that we have a long history of life and career
Yeah.
to draw upon. So it's not like we could sit there like, well, I've only been in business for a year, and yeah, I just started. An entry level employee in an accounting firm. No, I mean, we've both been CEOs, CFOs. I mean, I've never been a CFO, never wanted to be. Don't talk to me about finance. That's your game. But I I think that having the ability to draw upon that kind of experience, both life and business, is what allows us to always have conversations that we can enjoy, and share.
I agree. I agree.
So on that note, we're going to sign off and look forward to our next episode, which will be on Friday.
Yeah.
Young entrepreneurs. It will be up on our YouTube channel by the beginning of next week. So, Greg, enjoy your evening, and we'll speak soon.
Thanks, Keith. Another good week.
You too. Thanks, Dennis.
Yeah.
Why is it not stopping? That's weird. Come on.